Good morning, everybody, and a happy Monday morning to you. I hope everybody is having a fabulous day today. As is typical, we have so much to cover. Let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. We are starting off with the Duke of Gloucester this morning, who went to the Royal Berkshire Archives. Now, that's the new name for it. They were celebrating 75 years, and what they do is preserve history and the heritage of the UK. Looking good and keeping on. All right, let's move on now to Mike and Zara Tyndall, who went to the Cheltenham Race Court. They had an event. Now, for those of you who are interested, Zara was wearing a dress that's 640 pounds from Australian designer Rebecca Valance. The branch just relaunched in Harrods. According to the article, she had a glass of wine in her hand. Apparently, she was enjoying herself very, very much, and it was quite cold there, looks like. The event that they were attending is called the Countryside Day at Cheltenham. This marks the beginning of the 3-day November festival at the race course. We know that Zara rides, and she is an international equestrian competitor and a mother of 3, looking absolutely fabulous. You know, I don't know what it is about these two, but I just love them. Maybe it's the whole I'm not royal vibe. They just, live their lives, loving it. And the next day, they were back again. Ever stylish Zara was kind enough to take some selfies with a gentleman there. I love this hat. You know who that reminds me of? That reminds me of Steph the Altar Nerd and According to Taz, because the two of them are hat people. Love it. All right, moving on. Now we're going to move on to Prince Edward the Duke. Remember, he's in New Zealand, and he was in a ceremony that was hosted by Wellington College, and he presented over 80 participants their awards. Now, you guys, just in case you're unaware, let me just point out that the award now exists in over 120 countries and territories worldwide. That's amazing. The next day, Edward attended a educational panel event that took place at the Government House in Auckland. Part of what they discussed was how the award can complement formal education. Now, this was hosted by the Right Honourable Dame Cindy Cairo, who is the Governor General of New Zealand. And the CEO of the event called it inspiring, saying that this is a way to foster holistic learning in schools. I hadn't thought of that. Nicely done, Edward. All right, moving on to his lovely wife. They're saying, thank goodness for Solo Sophie, because with everything going on, they are a little shorthanded. So Sophie and Edward, according to this article, are popping up as under-the-radar royals because they're taking a lot of the long haul. They are long haul, but yet important visits. So, for instance, Sophie had a 5-day visit to Canada. Remember that? I showed you guys where she's Colonel-in-Chief of the Lincoln and Welland Regiment and patron of 2 Toronto hospitals. Then last month she was in Ethiopia. And then, and she does all this with very little fanfare. I get a little irritated because I feel like they don't follow the two of them around like they should. You know what I'm saying? She should get more coverage, and so should Edward, of their events. Anyway, William and Catherine are younger, but they have small children, whereas Edward and Sophie's children are full grown. They're only in their 50s, so they have plenty of time and energy to go around and take on some more responsibilities. So, yeah, I told you before, I like to call her secret weapon Sophie. She's never put a foot out of line in the last 20-something years. I love her. All right, moving on. We're going to move on to Princess Anne now, who arrived in Gibraltar. She was there for the Gibraltar Literary Festival and a few other engagements. This took place on the 17th. Apparently, they were late coming in because there was such dense fog, the plane wasn't allowed to land. Crazy. So this first event, which was held at the Sunborn Hotel, was the opening dinner of the Gibunco Gibraltar International Literary Festival. And of course, Anne had a few words for people, as well as their Prime Minister, Fabian Picardo. And as you can see, Sir Tim Lawrence was there as well. I loved what Anne was wearing, looking fabulous. The next morning, Princess Anne attended the reopening of the Royal GI Regiment Sortie Club, and that is a facility that supports those who have served and their families. It got a redo. And for those of you who don't know, the Infantry Regiment of the British Army is what that is, and they have been defending Gibraltar since 1939, and they have served in all major theaters of conflict since 1969, part of the Queen's Division, according to what you see. Looks like a fabulous facility. Now, she changed clothes, and at some point, she went to another place. I really don't know where this was. I looked for it. But then she and her husband went and got on the plane and headed back. British Airways. Love it. Moving on. All right, we're going to move on now to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. She went on BBC to open up their Child in Need telethon. This started in 1980, and it's raised over £1 billion for disadvantaged youths. That's a wonderful thing to do. And Remoulade Sauce found the shirt, as usual. But here's the interesting thing. The Post came out and said she's out of touch. She's wearing a $400 shirt while she's asking the Brits for money. Thank you again to Remoulade Sauce for pointing out that the shirt is 3 years old. You know, that just goes to show you the misinformation, the way that they try to slant your opinion of people. Let's move on now to Piers Morgan. I haven't spoken about him in quite some time. He was talking about the fact that Meghan and Harry got on that private jet for a 15-minute flight to go to a concert, and he basically said they're now the king and queen of bull because they're laughing stocks, because people realize if you're going to preach about the environment and then jump on private planes, people are going to laugh at you. He said they're terrible. You see from polling how unpopular they are. In the United States, they're being openly ridiculed. That is true. That's absolutely true. People are making jokes out of them. That's true. All right, moving on. I just had to touch on this article. We do have two main stories, but I'm going to touch on this first because it's so perfect. They pointed out that Omid Scobie's book is not about the passing of the Queen. It's all about Prince Harry and how he's a victim again and what the family did to him and the travel arrangements. And Omid, of course, has shifted all of the actual facts and has changed it out. So people are saying, listen, if you're going to shovel endless steaming piles of manure onto the family fruit patch, you're going to get raspberries in return. You know what I'm saying? Because every action and every piece of treachery is another brick in the royal ramparts. And they're saying the wall is so high now, there's no way they're going to get around it. People are also questioning this victimhood, this constant victimhood narrative. And when are they ever going to wake up and stop it and smell the quote unquote wellness focused instant latte and count their blessings? Yes, I'm doing a coffee thing because we're going to be talking about that in a minute. Moving on. All right, next up, I want to show these pictures for two reasons. Number one, that is not supposed to be an off-the-shoulder dress. That's why that seam is where it is. I don't know why Meghan thinks people want to look at her shoulders so much. But number two, she's not wearing a bra. She didn't even put pasties on. To me, that just makes the whole outfit look ridiculous and trashy. And once you've seen it, yeah, you can't unsee it. Look above her left breast. Look up at the fabric above it. Did you guys see it? Let me show it to you. First of all, it looks like, believe it or not, she's got a wire running up her arm. And then it looks like there's a little square there. And what do you know? There is. Does that look familiar? Let me remind you. Boom. Listening device. This woman probably went and taped everything that was said at that table. It's a little scary. And by the way, people are talking about the fact that she didn't move down the line. Well, she didn't move down the line because she wasn't getting an award. She wasn't giving a speech, and this was the only limelight she was going to get. And she was going to milk it for all it was worth on the way in the door. Now, when Meghan Markle is hit with questions that she's unprepared for, her answers are kind of a joke. For instance, she was asked about holiday traditions with her children. Her response was, "My little ones are little, and we're just enjoying every moment of it. How about saying we like to bake cookies, or we're looking forward to decorating the cake?" But no, she gives a nonsensical answer. So anyway, she finally gets off the red carpet and she walks in. Now, you should know that her bodyguard, at least two of them were with her. Could you imagine? She brought a bodyguard to this thing. But as you can see, as she's walking in, nobody was around her, nobody was bothering her, nobody was talking to her. Now, let me tell you what the article says. It says that she stood up and clapped for all the honorees and their presenters. I have no doubt she over-emoted. But it also says she kept intently focused on the program the whole time and didn't seem to talk to anybody at her table. Really? I have no doubt she was, number one, bored because she wasn't the center of attention. And number two, she was staring at the next table over, which had an A-lister like Leonardo DiCaprio. If you look, nobody's talking to her, nobody's looking at her, nobody's paying attention, and the A-listers are at the other tables. They're not with her. They stuck her at table 12 with no A-listers. Now, there were 5 main women honored at the Variety Power of Women event. You see them listed above. And I have no doubt that she was absolutely seething because these women have really achieved something. You know, that's one of the things that gets me. They said for women, please give me the name of one woman that Meghan Markle has uplifted. Just one. Now, stories are coming out that she's going to make a major comeback by a Suits spinoff. Okay, first of all, in her 40 by 40 thing with Melissa McCartney, she said she's not going back to acting. She's not going to do Suits. But could you imagine? She wasn't even the star of this show. She was like a 6-tier actress. And this is the only claim to fame she has. That's a little scary. And so they're saying she's going to be coming back as an A-list star because she's on top of her game. Guys, I've seen her acting. It ain't all that in a bag of chips. No, she's not. All right, this is one of our 2 big stories for today. It's coming out now that Harry and Meghan are wanting to return to the royal family for Christmas. They want to try to heal things, but they haven't been invited. So they're saying, listen, King Charles, if you would like to see your grandchildren, we're willing to come to Sandringham for Christmas. And if they got an invitation, people are saying now that they would never decline it because their currency has fallen. Without the royal family, they're nothing. They really are nothing. Harry is doing nothing. Meghan's trying to break into Hollywood. It's not working. They've lost money hand over fist. They lost their Spotify contract. They have put nothing else out for Netflix. In the next year, when their contract ends, Netflix is probably going to cut them loose. So now they're trying to reestablish connections with the royal family. First, it was leaking the phone call. Okay. Then it's, now it's, we'll come if you'll invite us. Well, it's like they expect the king to forget The Spare, Oprah, Finding Freedom, Omid's new book, Endgame, The Me You Can't See. Do I really need to go on? He's attacked William. He's attacked Catherine. He's attacked Camilla. He's even attacked Harry's parenting skills. Now they're putting out things that Charles would love to, but an invite isn't coming. You know why they're saying that? They're saying that because of William. William won't allow it. Well, I'm sure William has said to Charles, if you bring them, we're not coming. I wouldn't blame him if he did. I mean, I could see William doing that, but that's actually not what's happening. What's going on is King Charles is fed up with their soap opera antics. It started with the phone call, which was then leaked. Now they're putting out, we want to be back with the royal family for Christmas. And I think Charles basically has just had enough. It literally is a never-ending soap opera. And before we move on to our big story for today, I wanted to touch on this. Michelle Obama put up a tweet that she's in Malawi with Melinda Gates and Amal Clooney. They're working to advance gender equality and stop childhood marriage. And they are visiting charities that help support this. I mean, if that doesn't show you she's on the outs with them, nothing will. All right, let's move on to our big story for today. All right, we're going to start the final story. I don't know if you guys remember that Meghan invested in this coffee brand called Clever. It's part of her investment portfolio. It's a oat latte brand. So I'm going to give you a little background information because I did multiple videos on this, okay? So to start with, she did an investment in December 2020 in the coffee business, and she used Oprah to put up an Instagram post talking about how delicious this was. My neighbor sent it to me, okay? And they put up that it was a female-led company or female-owned company. She's the founder and CEO. We found out there was a man involved. His name is Roger, and we have a copy of his limited liability filing. And this website uses cookies, so be careful. The website was very unprofessional. It said stuff like this on it. Then they went on to talk about the different coffees. They went on to say that everything was ethically sourced. This is where it gets interesting. They're all ethical ingredients, and it's a holistic approach to wellness, and blah blah blah. And they went on to talk about the different coffees, what's in them, and what they do for you. And after all of this, of course, Megan's got her hand in there because she says they help with your nourishment. Okay, that's one of Megan's keywords. By the way, after all of this, they're saying that nothing they're saying is approved by the FDA. Now, they put up a very expensive, remember, these are very small bags. They're like 12 ounces each. And I don't know who their target audience is because it wasn't until right after this. Remember, Megan went on CNN talking about things are hard, nourish your neighbors, but yet she wants you to spend $100 for 48 ounces of coffee, of which she gets a percentage. They placed on the website all the ingredients and where they were sourced from, and that was very important. And you are about to find out why. So now 2 years goes by, and I guess the coffee company isn't doing well. So Megan pops up in an Instagram commercial for the coffee company, and she's heavily photoshopped, lots of makeup, filters, and she's standing there having an organic moment, enjoying the coffee. Okay, it totally was promotional. Now, the first thing I've noticed is that they're still claiming they're women-led. They completely forgot about that guy. And of course, Oprah put a comment up there to help push the coffee. Now, on their website, they said that their mushrooms were the highest quality. They did their research. They're organically grown, natural light, not in a lab, natural materials, and, rigorous testing, etc. And then come to find out they're actually grown in a police state using slave labor. That's right. Human rights groups have urged companies to stop business with these people. Groups that audit these places don't audit anymore because they said employees can't speak freely. Remember, they said they did their research, but anyway, the second this came to light, the coffee companies started buying from a U.S. supplier using Canadian oats. Now, I believe they only made these changes because they got put on the global scale and they had to answer for their actions. Megan's reps would only say that Megan would never invest in any company that didn't uphold her ethical standards. And then again, it wasn't too long after that, we found out that this company was cited for having lead in the coffee. High levels of lead, which, especially if you're pregnant, oh my God, this is the kind of this stuff nightmares are made of. And it had been done several months earlier, and we had just found out about it. So I said it before, I'll say it again. She invested in the company. The company didn't do well. They got cited for lead. They got cited for getting mushrooms unethically. So she went and did the Instagram commercials with these fake setup pictures to try to push the company, and the company's just not doing well. Now, I'm still going to refer back to what Megan's mole said. If you look, nobody's wearing hair nets, no gloves, the mat's disgusting, and this is a food prep area. Ew. So they put up a picture. This is the article from today. They put up a picture. It was taken during the commercial 3 years ago. Megan hasn't said a word about it. So what does she do? She puts up a 5-star review to try to get interest back in the company. Obviously, it's not doing well. Guys, stay away from the coffee. All right. You guys know what I want. Put those comments down. Make them good. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you've already hit it, double check. Make sure you're still subscribed. And don't forget to hit that like button. If you've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.